Welcome to another Telltale video. Subject of this video is going to be Stanley G. Weinbaum. Stanley Weinbaum is best known for his science fiction, especially the short story A Martian Odyssey, which was published in 1934 in Wonder Stories? Yes. Wonder Stories in July 1934. So I started this series, Emily and I started with The Martian Odyssey, and we went on to the sequel to Martian Odyssey, a second science fiction story, Valley of Dreams. And then my research revealed to me that there was actually a number of works that Weinbaum did before A Martian Odyssey, which I didn't know about. And I did a previous video about the 9 poems that I was able to find and read. And after those poems, which were written in the early 1920s, in 1933 Weinbaum published a whole novel titled The Lady Dances. So it's the 10th work that I'm aware of and able to get a hold of in Weinbaum's bibliography. And this novel, it has been put together as a novel, but it was originally published in syndication and serialization in newspaper magazines with the King Features Syndicate, which is best known probably for syndication of a lot of comic strips. In this case, they syndicated the serialized parts of Weinbaum's novel, The Lady Dances. And that was in 1933, so a year before A Martian Odyssey was published. I was only able to come across an ebook of the novel, and so I purchased it. I think it was $1.99 or something, so real cheap to get a hold of. Could not find an actual physical book to buy of The Lady Dances. I think it's fine as an ebook if you really want to read it. I think that's the best way to go. The story of The Lady Dances regards Mark and Vanya. Mark he's kind of a rich kid, and he's got a bunch of his family's money given to him so he can go and vacation in Hawaii and cruise around the Pacific, maybe go to China. And so he's getting on a boat called the Orient. And at the same time, there's a woman named Vanya getting on the boat. She's being put on the boat to be deported because she's in the United States illegally. So he sees her and thinks she's really hot and wants to get to know her. But she doesn't want to talk to him. He makes a couple attempts on the boat. Both times she just completely shuts him down. And so they get to Honolulu and depart in Honolulu. He looks for her in Honolulu without success until the next day he sees her on a boat heading out. He can see her at the rail of the boat. And he waves, but she doesn't really respond, of course, because she's not paying any attention to him. So then he finds out where was the boat going. Finds out it's going to this island. I forget the name of the island. Starts with a T. And at first he thinks, well, this woman doesn't really want anything to do with him, so he should just forget about her. He should go somewhere else. He gets on a different boat and heads out. He travels all around the Pacific, catching different boats and going to different ports. And he kind of finds out through the grapevine, talking to various people and sailors, that Vanya was a dancer, and that she danced in basically dive dance bars on these South Pacific islands. So he keeps thinking of her and keeps thinking of her, and he finally does catch a boat that goes to this island where she is supposed to have gone, and finds out, yes, she is there, and she is dancing in a bar, dancing and singing for the sailors that come into port there, mostly pearl diving boats, pearl fishing boats. He finally catches up with her, and he's determined to get her to fall in love with him. I'm going to cut it off there, just in case you really want to look this story up and read it. It is a romantic comedy, complete with a happy ending. The writing of this book, having read Weinbaum's science fiction, and I've read almost all of his short stories, I found this novel to be inferior to his science fiction work. The characters aren't poorly done, but there's just some of their motives that I just didn't buy. They just didn't seem like, no, real people wouldn't do that. It just didn't seem believable that somebody would make that decision. It seemed contrived, and contrived in order to get the plot to go where Weinbaum wanted it to go. And he couldn't come up with a better reason for the characters to go there. Personally, I think he should have taken the plot in a different direction to keep the characters to be more believable and more consistent, rather than have them do things that you just go, no, what the heck is that? It just didn't quite work. And then some of the situations and such, again, were just not believable. They were done in order to move the plot where Weinbaum wanted to move it, but they didn't make good sense. I didn't believe that the characters would actually do that and take it there. So there's just inconsistencies and contradictions with the characters and with the situations that I know exist only to move the plot to where Weinbaum wanted to go, instead of making a plot that made more sense, or making characters that would actually believably act in that way. And then, being written in 1933, of course, the whole idea of this guy basically stalking this woman all over the South Pacific, I mean, okay. Just not good. I kind of enjoyed it. There were some good parts. There was some humor to it. There was some enjoyable action to it. But for the most part, I just didn't feel, through the whole thing, I didn't feel like I was reading professional writing. It felt amateurish. And only a year later, Weinbaum was able to do much, much better work. Maybe the fact that he switched over to science fiction, or maybe there was something else that happened during that year that brought him to the Martian Odyssey. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's a little bit of a puzzle, but at least it happened. At least he did switch and start writing science fiction, and he wrote just a whole string of some of the greatest science fiction ever, and changed the genre in a lot of good ways. So that's The Lady Dances. I can't recommend it except to the Weinbaum purist. like me, I wanted to read everything, and so I found out about this book, and I had to. And even after I started it and wasn't really liking it, I felt I needed to stick with it so that I could do this report and, you know, check this one off the Weinbaum list. But there really isn't any other reason to read this book. Even for its day, there are so many better novels that were written and published in 1933. Even a short time before that, the works of S. Scott Fitzgerald were far superior to this. But it exists. It's out there. And it is by the famous science fiction writer Stanley G. Weinbaum. So with that, I get back on track with my Weinbaum exploration, the next one, and hopefully I can get Emily to join back in. I'm kind of glad she didn't bother with the lady dances. I don't think she would have liked it. But the next story will be Flight on Titan, back to the science fiction, and that one was published after A Martian Odyssey, after A Valley of Dreams. It was published in January of 1935. And I hope you'll join me for that. Until then, like this video, subscribe to our channel, leave comments if you have anything to say, and I'll be here for the next video.